So that was a whole wasted 2 minutes. Great. I wonder if I can work out from YouTube whether there is. So the stream is healthy. I guess I got no one watching, so as soon as someone starts watching, tell me if you can hear me. Just a message. Right, so now that I think I have volume, I have sound, I can see on my levels I've got sound. So feel like that's probably okay. I'm just going to check my filters. It'd be something like me to do is to go through the whole video and only realize that there was no sound after 2 hours. So what are we doing in this video? We are looking at the code base that's been built by a guy who happens to be my brother in Rio de Janeiro. And it is designed for him. He wasn't happy with the software that he was finding, or maybe the cost, and he wants to be able to get his employees to check in using like a thumbprint reader on a Surface Pro, and he wants to be able to disseminate HR documents and agreements and things, and get agreements and things like that through this app, do timesheet management. Essentially, he wants this to be the all-in. We don't know. I don't know why I'm randomly just showing you this Firefox app, so I may as well. What could I be showing you on the screen right now? I just, because I'm streaming, I'm going to be a little bit careful about what I'm showing, I guess, on the screen. I think I should just get into it. Okay. So I've got the code base here. The code is in Git, and there's a couple of things going on. I've called this code base old, and essentially I've just got a copy on my file system. Then I have this second one, which is the current one. At the moment, they're both checked out to the same branch. Okay, so I've got terminal here. I'm just using iTerm2 on the Mac. Let's clear that screen. All right. So I've got the two code. I've got sort of locally, I've got the two code bases, and on it's just a copy of the same Git repository. And on the second one, I've created a new branch called rebuild. I use shortcuts in my Git commands. I'll try not to do that. So there's our local branches. So initially when we were working, Dan would work using his own branch. So it's probably just worth noting some of the ways he has been working. So after he had started working for a bit, I discussed with him to use a Git repository and to essentially, I asked him to ask his LLM. He's using, I think he was using ChatGPT at the time, maybe Codex by then, and I asked him if he would use, if he would ask some questions of his LLM, like what Git repository it was using, and it was using a local Git repository. So then what I did is I gave my brother the instructions to upload the full, like some instructions for the LLM to connect with the remote repo on GitHub. So I gave him a GitHub repo, and then after that was done, I was able to clone the code locally, and I added an agents file. So, and in the agents file, I just sort of said, some of this would be me, some of this wouldn't be. It would be things perhaps that his LLM has added, but like I added this version control. So before new tasks, do this and this and this. I suspected strongly that it is that Codex was doing this, was at least doing sort of Git commands, but what I wanted to do is to get into this process of like pushing regularly. I am not sure what's on. I might just double check right now what's on this Dan local branch. So if I git check out Dan local and then do a pull, I'm 1,250 commits behind. So I've done a git pulls, quite a lot going on here. And so let's just do a log, and you can see that the Dan local, actually it's been kept relatively up to date. So if I log main, you can see, looks like they might have diverged 6 days ago. That's weird. 2 days ago. So there's new work. Okay, so there's been new work on Dan local. I don't know what logic the LLM is using or Dan's using of when to merge, because I certainly didn't merge this stuff into the main branch. So 2 days ago, 3 days ago. So that's even a lot more than I was expecting. So I wonder if I go back to main and do a pull on that branch, is there new stuff on this branch? And I'm going to ignore the Dan local branch at the moment. Other than the fact that it's potentially got new stuff on it. So let's merge that into main. I kind of don't have any. I suppose at this stage, since Dan or the LLM is using main, I kind of let that be. I'm not really worried too much about what's on here. I suppose it just makes one of the branches redundant at this point. But the original plan was that the Codex would be pushing to Dan local branch, and that then we can open a pull request from that to main to look at it. And what's happened since then is quite a lot of stuff, and a lot of stuff which I'm kind of aware of that I'll go through, stuff that I probably need to remove, but just generally a lot of stuff. So I don't think at the moment, until we get a production, kind of like a productionized version of this app, I don't think we're really in a position to like, there's no point kind of slowing down the pipeline and going into pull requests. But it's like the goal is to have his app pushing to another branch, potentially protecting the main branch, and having his codex pushing to a other branches, or doing feature requests essentially. And but it's not going to be helpful to have it pushing tons and tons of code onto a single branch. But at the moment it's fine. I don't care. So essentially I'm going to be comparing, so if I do a git pull on, so again, this is a copy of the code base in a different directory. So I do a pull, I've just pushed all the Dan local updates to GitHub, and I've just pulled them down back into this repo. So I've got 2 clones of the repo. I could be doing Git work trees. I don't. I just don't. I've never really learned them, and kind of don't see the point. Like, kind of Git's a decentralized tool. If there was like a huge amount of data in the Git repository, then maybe I'd want to be a bit more efficient, but I'm not really worried about that. So, so if I do this list ACE quantify, then that's the same code base. And I've done this before. Like, I find if you're doing a really big rebuild branch, What I really want to do here is get onto a rebuild branch, just a custom branch. So I'll just merge that with main, so everything's up to date. So I've got the latest on the rebuild branch, where I'm going to hack and slash quite aggressively. All right. So what I want to do in this video is trying to start to work through what it is we're looking at and that we have to productionize. Some of those things I have answers for already, and some I don't. Oh, hello, Jack and 8VX. So I am taking a vibe coded app that my brother built, and I'm putting it, basically trying to productionize it and essentially rebuild it to be production ready. I'm just going to write that in as well. Sorry, I'm pretty new to streaming too, so thank you for joining and watching. I wanted to stream this because I kind of want it to be, I don't want to redo it. And I don't want, and I kind of work better when I'm in a kind of like a flow of like analyzing, talking, even kind of a mentor vibe. So imagine there's someone sitting here with me. So this is a really good opportunity for me to look at the sort of stuff that a non-developer is vibe coding and try to kind of piece that out and say, well, what's this a prototype of, and can we turn it into something that we can then productionize? Technically, it is a Firebase app, but there's quite a lot going on in it, as I'm aware. So the goal of this is I want to look at what's going on in it, and I want to start to kind of pull some things out. So I noticed that there's quite a lot of stuff. I don't want to be too strong and say crap, but there's quite a lot of stuff. But there's stuff that's just, I don't know, I want to get rid of this. Like, I don't know what most of this documentation is, but what's this build pipeline proposal? I'm not sure if this is not stuff that my brother is writing. This is stuff that is being written on in response to what he's asking. So some of it there'll be echoes of things that I've asked him to do or that I've put in the agent's text, and some's just like, hey, make it more secure, and it's doing a whole bunch of stuff to quote unquote make it more secure. So I don't know, it's not working code. I kind of don't care. It's like, if I've got work, I want work. I'm really mostly interested in working code in these situations. Like, documentation is about socializing it. And if there's not an author of this documentation talking to me about what the goals and intention of a piece of code is, it's not useful. It's not useful at all. I'm just going to leave a comment for the chat. It's a Firebase app, my vibe coder built. I'm going to try to productionize it somehow in these streams. So, I mean, so ClamAV is a runtime executable that you can pass like a file into, and it'll like examine it for antivirus. I've used ClamAV in the context of like government websites where people are uploading files that are going to be displayed on the website, and ClamAV is analyzing that file. So how did this come to be here? I just don't know. Like, where is this going to be? Where is this running in the context of a Firebase app? That there's ClamAV here somewhere. Is it connecting to a cloud server? I probably would learn some things by reading through it, but a lot of the stuff, I'm aware that there's going to be stuff that's being installed on the Surface Pro, and I'm going to be trying to remove a lot of that stuff. I don't need it. So like, this is not any more secure just because there's ClamAV support, in my opinion, because no one put it here intentionally. It's just been hallucinated into place. Probably works, sure, but I mean, the reason for it there's no reason for it. It's not a feature request as such. So WhatsApp Twilio build back. So I know that there's some WhatsApp. I know that one thing that he wants to do is he wants to be able to have invite people onto the platform, staff onto the platform using like WhatsApp, and he wants to use WhatsApp and so in Brazil, WhatsApp's huge. Everything that he does is going to be WhatsApp's going to be his main form of communication with his staff. So again, this isn't even now in the age of like, because of LLMs, I can take a piece of code and I can ask the LLM to examine it. So I don't care about things that aren't built yet, and I don't care about things that are documented that exist. I mean, I'm really not yet sure about any of this stuff and why it exists. So because I've got the other code base, the goal here is to really strip a lot of this stuff out. I don't need it. I can get it back very, very easily. So I'm going to be doing that very, very soon. A lot of this stuff is going to be committed, and I don't even know if it's something that is generated by as an artifact of another process. So yeah, let's just delete this docs folder. Okay, so that's going to leave. Obviously, that's going to leave on in my code base. You know, I've deleted all these files. So I can still go and look at them. This is why I like pretty much keep a copy of the repository separate, just side by side. And if I'm using Codex or whatever to do a piece of work, I will say I'll get it to look at the folder that's in the relative directory if I need to. But I'm the sort of guy who needs to clear it all out and look at it fresh. And so I've deleted this. I'm gonna add that, and I'm gonna commit that as removing non-production material. Okay. It just seems it's such a weird day and age now where your documentation is so kind of. I write documentation for a job that I do, and I kind of don't document. I kind of wait for someone to say, "Hey, I really don't understand how this works." And when they're saying that, they're really asking about how a few pieces of software interact, and also how people interact with that software. So they're like, okay, I understand there's a form and then you have to edit it and save it, but why would someone want to do that? And why is it needed by the business and stuff like that? So you're sort of writing a piece that's helping to set a context and then explaining how a few things work. And so it's almost like, so you've got your code, and then you've got human descriptions of what the fuck the code's all about. With probably not meant to swear on YouTube or something, but whatever. So anyway, so I know this output. So I've looked at this output before, and these are output. These PDFs get output from some markdown files. So I know that. So technically, this shouldn't be in the repo. Really, it should be generated. And I'm also inclined. So a lot of it is like. It's all in Portuguese. I won't open it. It's all in Portuguese, and it basically is what your responsibilities are as an employee. So trabalho is is work, and aprovacio. I speak Spanish. I don't speak Portuguese. So yeah, governance, private, approval, registration, something. Don't really care what it is. Okay, delete it. Now, where that documentation comes from, so there's going to be a script that generates that, so I'll get to that in good time. This got added recently, and my biggest problem with this security stuff in some ways, it's actually not bad. There's a bunch of JSON, which is in some ways it's kind of cool. I described it as like IBM shitting on a space program, right? It's just so corporate, big, old corporations with way too many processes and stuff. I have seen that there's automation. So yes, here's the automation in this script. So for example, there's this MJS file and it's JS, right? But it's testing. It's essentially asserting certain things in the code base. It's doing things like making sure that, okay, there was one that I looked at, it was this, it's like, can the front end talk to Firebase directly, or does it need to go via server process? The policy is that people shouldn't be able to like write front end code that connects directly to the Firebase data, it's Firestore, because that's a policy and it's for, you know, to avoid foot gunning and whatever. Sure. It just don't know how you like. So in theory, that every time you deploy it, all these scripts run and it makes sure that these policies are being followed. I kind of look at it like it's too controlling in an early stage of a project. I know that there's this notion of like, I know that if you were in a large team and if I was the dev lead in a large team and I wanted to kind of automate and make sure that people weren't doing stupid stuff, and just have it automated, you could generate a whole bunch of this stuff, like a lot of it's just boilerplate stuff, right? Deploy it, put it on a GitHub worker or wherever you're running your workflows. And then it would like prevent people from opening a pull request that failed this test. I'm kind of used to working. I think, well, what's the point of this AI stuff of building things out fast if we end up creating monoliths? Is really my opinion. So anything that I want to work on, I'm interested in knowing what's going on in that application. So personally, I'm not vibe coding stuff where I don't know what it's getting generated. There might be some routines and methods and things but they've got really clear names. Like there's a method that connects to some service or whatever, and it's 20 lines of code or 10 lines of code, and it's got a clear name. You don't look at the code in detail, but it either works or it doesn't work, right? There's only one spot that's calling that code, and it's just abstracted out. But generally, I know what the code is that's being deployed. So, and then there's a point of maturity where you're going, okay, I'm happy with how this application is built now. From this point forward, I want to enforce certain rules so that no one screws this up and sends it in the wrong direction. So I was astounded when I saw this code coming into the code base. I think my main question to Dan was, how did he know when, like, what was his goal? Like, and his goal was to improve security, because someone had mentioned that, you know, I hope your thing's secure or whatever. His goal was to improve security, but I said, like, what's your definition of done? How did you know that this was done? Like, this was finished? And he didn't really have, you know, just basically waited for ChatGPT to tell him that it was good. I don't know. It was easy to generate. It doesn't present any value for me at this stage. So that's cool. So I'm pretty sure that those two folders work together. Okay, so I'm going to do another baseline commit here. So I'm just going to amend the previous commit. Remove non-product material. Actually, I'm going to remove I'm going to fix it. Okay, so I feel like I've removed a fair bit. Review summary. I'm just going to clean up some low-hanging fruit here. Quantify removes review summary. This repository bundle is prepared for an external architecture and the code review. So this is the LLM quote unquote documenting the app that it built in response to like mono repo managed with npm workspaces. And I will tell you right now, there's multiple. Backend, biometric bridge, desktop, files. So this would file scanner. This would be the Clam AV. There's the Clam AV configuration, right? This is a separate application. So when it says mono repo, no kidding. Local service. The reason why a lot of this exists, I'm probably going to get into it further at some point, but some of it exists because Dan wanted to do fingerprint scanning, and he needed his app to talk to the fingerprint scanner on the Surface Pro. And I think it went down the path of over abstraction, 100%. I've done a little bit of scanning, so in a later stream, I'll be looking at connecting to. I've got the fingerprint scanner that he uses. I don't know if it's at arm's reach right now. I've got a Windows 11 box here, so I'll be getting that working. But you see the apps here, apps. Review summary. So I don't care about this. Like front end stack, all of this stuff is discoverable, easily discoverable. Constants, get to that in a bit, might keep them. I'm really kind of looking for the things in this application that represent that are gold and not just a description of the gold. Like a description that there exists constants does not, I don't care. Primary persistent target. We'll look at that at some stage, but yeah. Anyway, so this review summary, README. Again, pretty sure AI generated this. Milestones. I don't hate that these exist because these are more, rather than having to look at all of Dan's prompts, these are probably a pretty good interpretation of prompts at some stage. So I will read through this at some stage. I'm going to keep this. I'm actually going to, I'm going to keep this as it is. Yeah, you don't want to know what this is. I know what this ngrok stuff is about. I think that's crazy. Okay, so canonical roles, milestones. I'm going to keep the README. Security. Yeah, that's gone. So I'm going to come back to all of these files later. Whew. Whoa. That's a lot of scripts. So a lot of them are tests. A lot of them are just going to be basically, hey, execute this mjs.mjs file. What is a .mjs file? Ah, yeah, okay, JavaScript file. I need a private window for files because it's from other client. From testing. New private window. Okay, so yeah. The other thing, like, so this exists at the top level of the project. This is not the app. This is when did that happen? 1Password env imports. Like, it's cool. I've done that before. I've done 1Password environment variable imports using the API or whatever. I'm going to leave this here for now, but index.html. So the agents file that is what I created. I'm going to delete that because I'm going to just do Simon peer review. Me, Simon. Hit ignore. So I think I might have set this up, and the goal was to really try it. And so it looks like the AI has added more locations. Shouldn't have well, maybe it did need to add all those other node modules locations, but I have reviewed the size of the repo and things like those markdown files, PDFs. It's a fair amount of size, but there hasn't accidentally been too much crap added to the repo. So that strategy generally worked pretty well. Like we didn't get like 1 gigabyte debug log files and stuff like that in the repo at any point. So that's good. Obviously, these things are about deploying onto Google Cloud, Firebase. Infra. Like, how can you vibe code Cloudflare workers? How? We not know what they are, and how does that happen? So I'm pretty sure a lot of this happens because of the authentication flow that he sent me. He has shared with me a couple of times some links. Hey, can you click this link, log in with Google, tell me what the message is at the end. But I'm actually a little bit, I mean, it should be all right, but I'm going to look at these later. I'm not going to look inside these files. Controlled pilot remediation. Don't know what that is. Director IAP. It's a familiar term. Let me go Director IAP. Yeah, IAP integration. So identity aware. Yeah. Like you're building a web app for your staff to log in, timesheets, This is, this is pretty full on to me. I'm just looking at this stuff going, wait, I've done 100 times more complex things and had much less infra, quote unquote. You're trying to use things out of the box, Cloudflare worker edges. I like using workers, but is Cloudflare the right place to be running a worker? I don't know. I'm going to leave the infra folder here for a second because it does tell me quite a lot about some of the stuff that's running, even though I will probably remove it. Shared packages is a bit odd. Does that mean I'm going to assume this is custom code. So yeah, okay. So this is all of the shared JavaScript between all of the different projects. Kind of cool. And when I say cool, I'm saying like my mind boggles. It's pretty full on. Tenant context. Like, wow. Oh, like what's the quote? The tangled webs we weave. Food card policy. Employee transport mode. So there's gonna be little things that are like trigger in my brain where like, oh yeah, that's right. He wanted to be able to give the staff, my brother's a very ethical businessman. He wanted to give the staff rebates for time and expense for travel, which is cool. Food card amount sense, like food card policy. Does this stuff end up in the final product? I mean, this is the question. It's like I'm going to say yeah. Like if he wants, like should be the whole point of creating custom code is that Dan's got a bunch of policies and calculate transport daily costs and cents. Like whether or not this is the way to do it. So for const leg, that's really cool for const leg of legs. I mean, I know it doesn't mean physical legs, but yeah. When I think about his staff walking up and down the hills in the favelas around Rio, I think legs, but obviously he means legs of the trip. That's crazy. So they must have some sort of. I think he said there was some maps integration. Like my brain is divided between, hey, that's great, but also like you get a bug, what are you doing? Like how do you manage that bug? Just because of the code, there's so much code, and like should the code live here in a shared benefits package? Like if this was just custom code in the app, I'd be kind of like, yeah, cool, it's custom code in the app. But the fact that it's shared across multiple apps is really full on. Like I'd find that full on mentally. Tenant context. On offline attendance evidence. Online attendance evidence. I think he's doing clock-ins when he hasn't got internet access. So I said, hey, what, how important is being offline when it comes to all your operations? Because I kind of think like it's a cafe, and how often does he not have internet, and how well can the business respond if you don't have internet? Like, is it possible for someone to just simply open up a web page on their phone and check in, and they've got internet on their phone? But I get it. It's a highly important thing that they can check in when there's no internet. And it's because the last major project I did, we had 4 stores, and 2 of those stores quite consistently didn't have internet, being remote around Melbourne. And we use Shopify, and Shopify has a feature to do offline, go offline and so forth. And you can't take credit cards. You can't take credit cards during that time because they can't connect. So you can take a payment and you can take cash or whatever, but it just saves it all up in the app. This is going to be, for a lot of this stuff, it's going to be the first time I've really looked at some of the code. The code's been bubbling away in the background over the last few months, and yeah. So I'm keeping all this packages stuff. Obviously, that's custom code. It does a thing. We might come. I think the at the very, very least, it'll be like, okay, now we've got a web app. Let's allow people to clock in. And just this code's not going to be useful. It's going to be a different context in it where it's been written. Look, sure, it might be TypeScript as well, but I think just you spend more time trying to port code like this into a new structure than you do just regenerating it. So the important thing is it would allow me to enumerate features. Right. Anyway, leaving that folder. We're leaving infra, we're leaving packages. So workflows is AV signature refresh. Woohoo! Wow, that is quite a job for refreshing a Clam AV signature. Wow. I'm pretty sure we don't have any money sitting on. I share infrastructure with my brother, and don't just oily rag. No money on GitHub. My company's got Free Source has got a paid account, but it's like very a minimal amount of money goes through. It's just a monthly subscription, so you can have private repos and stuff. So I'm not paying for any worker hours for runners in GitHub. I'm pretty sure this is why he ran out. We were running out of worker time because I hadn't seen the errors before. I started getting the errors. I don't have anything significantly critical running in GitHub, so it's sort of like, yeah, all right, whatever. And I think this is the reason. Security scanning, desktop kiosk release. So this is okay. So this is interesting. So he has got the app running on the Surface Pro, and my goal will be to take it 100% into the cloud. I need to get the fingerprint scanner working, but I think I've identified the library for that. So it might have been that I might have had a touch in this code. I might just do a git log on this code. Relative path. No. Okay. I know what I was trying to do is I was trying to get the app to like trying to get a process. I was trying to convince Dan like there should be a process of building the app as a release and having it as a download in GitHub because there's a bunch of code that is about opening a port and creating a basically a proxy like ngrok or whatever, and accessing that from the Surface Pro and downloading a package from there. So I think at some stage I was like going, you should use GitHub, but I don't. My plan is not having anything installed on the Surface Pro. That's I know that Dan's kind of this sort of mindset that it's just the thing, and you deploy this software on your client. He wants to potentially have software that other companies can use, and there's a process of installing it and deploying it, and there's a lot of customers in the world. For me, that's a lot of hand holding to install a custom app for a customer on some random Windows machine that they may or may not have in their restaurant or cafe. For me, or most people, let's go in the cloud. If you have to install something, let's keep it pretty simple, what we need to install. So yeah, all that workflow stuff. I don't know how much this is really needed. I am going to delete. What am I going to delete here? Do I want to keep any? This is a little testing. I think I'm going to delete all of it. You might say, well, why delete all this sort of stuff? Well, if I'm going to start using LLMs as well, I want it to be able to, if I need it to sort of scan or find something, I want to minimize how much work it's doing to do that. So I don't want it to pick up false information or confusing information or conflicting information. So even to the point where I'd be a little bit reticent to even start doing that because there's so much code in there, and it'll be like, hey, I found this code and it does this, 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 and they go, damn, why'd you found that code? So I'm not anywhere near the point where I'm even looking at that. I won't get there until until I've done a couple of passes on this code and then worked out what my strategy is going to be. I think that's probably. I think most of these are. I'll finish up this stream by just looking at a few of these quote unquote apps. They're mostly JavaScript apps. So there's a JavaScript app here. Let's look at it. We have a backend app. I don't know if this is running in the cloud yet. There's a Docker file. So there's a node Docker file. I'm pretty sure the idea is that this runs on the Surface Pro. I'm so scared of some of this stuff. Okay, I'm going to skip biometric bridge for a second. So file scanner, I don't want file scanner. Delete. If you don't just don't execute untrusted stuff like desktop. Okay, so there's another app. So we've got the desktop app, and what is it requiring? See, what's the difference between the desktop and the back end? I think the back end must be intended to run in the cloud. I don't know if it's got I don't know what legal is in the context of a single app in this whole setup. But we have a source, so we got app TS, an Express app. Yeah, cool. It's an Express app. So look, I think I'm going to assume it runs in the cloud. I've got other reasons to be not sure about whether it does run in the cloud, but could be running on a Cloudflare worker for all I know. So desktop, what's the difference between desktop, backend, and then front end? So, well, front end's pretty easy, other than the fact there's an Nginx configuration file. Like, whoa. Okay, so we have a we have Vite in this situation that's doing what, compilation? I see ngrok mentioned. All right. So I think the front end. So a lot of this front end is talking to. There's another Docker file. Whoa. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Like one of the reasons why I really want to see Dan deploy a production version of this on the Surface is so I can ask questions for screenshots and things like that, and say, can you open up what's it called on Windows, the activity monitor, the task manager, show me something, right? Show me what's running there. Search for node and tell me what's running on that machine. Because I can look in the cloud at certain things, and I will, but I don't think that it's using Firestore in the cloud for various reasons, which I'll do in the next session. But yeah, onboarding, edge worker, onboarding, holding page. Like, why? If this was all in the cloud, none of this should be needed. They get an invite link. They click the invite link. It sets them up. They put in their details. Why? I almost want to delete these straight away. Biometric bridge is where it gets a little bit full on. Because what is this? I think this is a C app. I think this is a C program. The problem with me interpreting this as a C program, so the Microsoft Net framework. Okay, so it's a .NET application. What is a PS1 file? What is a PS1 file? Just chuck that in there as well. PS1 file, plain text, Microsoft Power Shell script. Oh yeah, it's okay. Yeah, that looks familiar. Okay, so these are PowerShell scripts. Like my brain hurts. I would have thought there was code here somewhere. Is this code? Is this .NET code? Namespace. I'm not going to bring in AI into this first session or anything like that. But no, I don't want to install PowerShell. Right. Pretty sure that this is C or C++. I'm just going to ask. I'm just going to jump and ask off screen. Just make my life a bit easy. Let's just do a quick question. Like I'm not the Primogen. What is this language? So it's C#. And okay, some of there's giveaways. Okay. Right. So we're looking at C#. Oh, well, CS. Yeah, C#. Cool. This is just not an area that I worked in. CS Proj, I'm kind of familiar with. I've seen those definition files. It's all XML. So now this biometric bridge, I think what I found is that there exists an open source program that you can install / driver that you can install on Windows that gives you this. So I'm confident. I will love nothing more than to remove this. Like, why this shouldn't exist. It's not like the fingerprint scanner is proprietary or custom. It's like an existing one you can buy off eBay or Amazon. So and when I looked, I found that there was a driver for it. So we're going to be setting up this app. We're going to be dropping a lot of this stuff. We're going to be trying to install that driver on the Windows machines I've got here, Windows 11. And then there's a JavaScript library that we can compile into our front end app that hopefully can talk to the fingerprint scanner. At least that's what the README suggested when I read it. And that's going to be fun. So we're going to do that. And what we're basically going to do is we're going to just try and in the next video attempt to install and run this locally. I think I have run it locally. It's not that hard to run. It just doesn't have connections to certain things, and it doesn't have a stub database and stuff like that. So it's just sort of empty. And then there's a lot of there's a lot of tools like that don't work because there's no data there. So like if you go to the employee list page, there's no employees in the database. So there's bugs on that page. But basically our goal is to basically, get this Pontify app up and running, and essentially just rebuild it and redeploy it to a new Firestore, new Firebase instance. So I'm Simon Hobbs, and my company's FreeSource, and this is my first video back from quite a long period of not doing videos, and it's been a couple of years because I got quite busy with life and work. And my plan is to try to do as much in the quote unquote, building in public as possible, where possible with my business, both with my personal projects and with projects that I do with my brother who's based in Rio. Yeah, look, if you please feel free to subscribe and all that jazz. I'm doing this for my own enjoyment at the end of the day, and I might see you around the traps. Thanks. Now I just have to work out how to stop everything.